Alright, this is a reading of what I think is the climax of Pet Cemetery. He thought of the grave markers on the pet cemetery, those rude circles, spiraling down into the mystery, and then the coldness came over him again. Why was he standing here, trying to summon up Gage's face anyway? He would be seeing it soon enough. The headstone was here now. It read simply, Gage William Creed, followed by the two dates. Someone had been here today to pay his or her respects, he saw. There was fresh flowers. Who would have who would that have been? Miss Danger? His heart beat heavily but slowly in his chest. This was it, then. If he was going to do it, he had better start. There was only so much night ahead, and then the day would come. Lewis glanced into his heart one final time and saw it. Yes, he did intend to go ahead with this. He nodded his head almost imperceptibly and fished for his pocket knife. He had clenched his bundle with scotch strapping tape, and now he cut it. He unrolled the tarp at the foot of Gage's grave, like he had bedrolled and then arranged items in exactly the same way he would have arranged instruments to suture a cut or to perform a small in-office operation. Here was the flashlight with its lens felted as the hardware store clerk had suggested. The felt was so secured with the strapping tape, he had made a small circle in the middle by placing a penny on the felt and cutting around it with his scalpel. Here was the short-handled pick, which he had not have to use. He had brought it only as a contingency. He would have no sealed cap to deal with, and he shouldn't run into any rocks in a newly filled grave. Here was the shovel, the spade, the length of rope, the work gloves. He put the gloves on, grabbed the spade, and started. The ground was soft, digging was easy. The grave's shape was well defined, the dirt he was throwing out softer than the earth of the verge. His mind made a kind of automatic comparison between the ease of his dirt and the rocky, unforgiving ground of the place where, if all went well, he would be reburying his son later on this night. But there, he would need the pick. He tried to stop thinking altogether. It only got in the way. He threw the dirt on the ground to the left of the grave. Working into a steady rhythm that only became more difficult to maintain as the hole deepened. He stepped into the grave, smelling the dank aroma of fresh dirt as he remembered from the summer with his Uncle Carl. Digger, he thought. He stopped to wipe sweat from his eyebrow. Uncle Carl had told him that was the nickname for every graveyard sexton in America. Their friends called them diggers. He started again. He stopped only once, and that was to check his watch. It was 12. He felt he felt time slipping through his first fist like something that had been greased. 40 minutes later, the spade gritted across something, and Louis' teeth came down on his upper lip hard enough to bring blood. He got the flashlight and shone it down. Here was more than dirt. A scrawl across it, a diagonal slash, a grayish silver line. It was the top of the grave liner. Louis must have got most of the dirt off, but he was wary of making too much noise, and nothing was too loud than a shovel scraping across concrete in the dead of night. He climbed out of the grave and got the rope. This he threaded through the iron rings on one of the segmented grave liner top. He got out of the grave again, spread out the tarpaulin, lay down on it, and grasps the end of the rope. Louis, I think this is it. Your last chance. You're right. It's my last chance, and I damn well taking it. He wound the ends of the rope around his hands and pulled. The square of the concrete came up easily, grating the pivot end. It stood neatly upright over a square of blackness, over now a vertical tombstone instead of a horizontal grave. Louis pulled the rope out of the rings and tossed it aside. He wouldn't need it for the other half. He could stand on the side of the grave liner and pull it up. He got got down into the grave again, moving carefully, not wanting to overturn the cement slab he had already pulled up, and mash his toes or break the damn things, which was quite thin. Pebbles rattled down into the hole, and he heard several of them chip hollowly off of Gage's coffin. Bending, he grasped the other half of the grave liner top and pulled upward. As he did, he felt something squelch coldly under his fingers. He had this second half of the top standing on end. He looked down at his hand and saw a fat earthworm wriggling feebly there. With a choked cry of disgust, Lewis wiped it off in the earthen sidewall of his son's grave. Then he shone his flashlight downward. There was the coffin he had last seen resting on chrome runners over the grave of the funeral servers, surrounded by the ghastly grief astrophe. This was the safety box in which he was supposed to bury all his hopes for his son. Fury, clean and white hot. The antithesis of his former coldness rose up in him. Idiotic. The answer was no. Lewis groped for the spade and found it. He raised it over his shoulder and brought it down on the coffin's latch once, twice, third time, a fourth. His lips were drawn back in a furious grimace. Going to break you out, Gage? Going to break you out, Gage. See if I don't. The latch was splintered on the first stroke, and probably no more than were necessary, but he went on, not wanting just to open the coffin but to hurt it. Some kind of sanity finally returned, and he stopped with his spade raised for another blow. The blade was bent and scratched. He tossed it aside and scrambled out of the grave on legs that felt weaker than rubber. He felt sick to his stomach. Anger had gone as quickly and as it had come. In its place, a coldness flooded back in, and never in his life had his mind felt so alone and disconnected. During an EVA, and now only drifts in great blackness, breathing on borrowed time. Did Bill Bartman feel like this? He wondered. He lay on the ground, on his back this time, waiting to see if he was under control and ready to proceed. When the rubbery feeling had left his legs, he sat up and slipped back down into the grave. He shone the flashlight on the latch. Saw it was not just broken, but demolished. He had swung his spade into it in a blind fury, but every blow he had struck had gone directly there, bullseye, as if it guided. The wood around it had splintered. Lewis slipped the flashlight into his armpit. He squatted down slightly, his hands groped like the hands of a catcher in a trope of circus flyers, waiting to perform his part in a mortal docking. He found the grove in the lid and slipped his fingers into it. He paused for a minute. One could not rightly call it a hesitation, and then he opened his son's coffin.